International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, the Geneva-based United Nations body that governs issues concerning information and telecommunication technologies, has set 2020 as the target year for completing the international standardization of 5G technologies as to pave the way for its mass adoption. Now, next generation 5G services promise to deliver not just faster phones and video, but also connected cars and internet-connected industrial sensors over the next decade. And China is extensively involved in the preparation currently underway for the eventual market rollout of 5G technologies worldwide. Now, the country's participation covers aspects ranging from international standard setting to system development and trials, as well as the nurturing of a global ecosystem for the industry. So where is the world heading with this new technology, which could eventually affect everybody on this planet, possibly? And how is the work being undertaken by China in comparison with other hubs of development, such as the US and Europe? Welcome to this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, and I'm pleased to be joined from Geneva by François Rency, Director of the ITU Radio Communication Bureau. Mr. Rency, thank you very much for joining us today. Now, given the significantly greater speed, up to 10 gigabits per second, that 5G offers, the next generation ultra-fast networks will likely see our way of life change even more than in the 4G era. We can all imagine ultra-fast downloading of videos or streaming video, but what other significant benefits will 5G enable?
I think when we speak of 5G, we have to understand that it's an evolution of technology which will permit mobile networks to be closer to the users, to be faster, and also to be more reactive. An important element beyond what you mentioned, which is the speed, is also the reaction time, which could go as low as 1 millisecond. And this is an element which is important for applications like self-driving cars, where obviously there is a safety aspect in a very fast reaction of the network. Another important element that 5G will provide is the ability to connect millions of machines at a very low cost. So the technology has progressed now to a point where this is made feasible, and this is the third element of the 5G development compared with what we have today with 4G. The cost aspect is an essential one, and for driving costs down, what is essential is to have worldwide standards so that the economies of scale of massive development for the worldwide market are present. And that's the role of the ITU, which gathers all the governments and regulators in the world, but also all the industry and the operators and the manufacturers, to ensure that we all agree to the standards and the spectrum which is necessary to bring these economies of scale for all users in the world.
Now, the ITU has set 2020, to my knowledge, as the target year for completing the international standardization of 5G technologies. But from what we saw in Barcelona, Spain, in February, in the 2018 Mobile World Congress, many would argue that 2020 is beginning to look like a worst-case scenario. What's the realistic timescale for the different rollouts across the world?
Well, you have to differentiate between what you have seen in Barcelona and what you see in Korea for the Olympic Games, what you will see next year for other main events, and what is necessary to ensure the worldwide adoption of the standards and spectrum allocations. What the ITU is doing is providing legitimacy to standards and spectrum allocation so that we have a worldwide ecosystem. What you see now and what you will see next year and up to 2020 are first attempt to bring what is not yet 5G but close to what we expect 5G to be. It's only once the ITU has decided that you will have full certainty on both the spectrum and the standards on 5G.
So we're still looking at the timetable of 2020.
Yes, definitely. This does not prevent that some operators will start commercial deployment, but this is not fully 5G, if you understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Now, in a market environment already featuring fierce competition, Chinese telecommunications companies are not only active participants, but also rising stars, can I say, among the top ranks of the 5G players. How would you compare what is being done or what is going on in China with other centers of R&D around the world?
Well, certainly China is very advanced, both in R&D and in industry and on the side of commercialization through network operators. But we see also developments in Korea, in Japan, in the US, and I think a global ecosystem is being built by the industry worldwide, in which China, of course, is an essential element.
Now, when 5G services are popularized, experts say they will bring a complete revolution of the way people live. Among others, 5G technology will rev up the application of the Internet of Things, which can connect virtually every daily applications or appliance to a 5G device. But is this really a solution looking for a problem, or will we really be better off as a result?
Well, I think any new technology is expected to bring benefits, and of course what we always see is that it also has side effects, and I think we'll need to learn about them. What we see with the development of mobile, as we have seen that in the last 20 years, is that with 4G we are now able to connect any device. The question is, the next step will actually be lowering the cost of connecting devices. It's going to be much easier because the cost is going to be smaller, and this is being done through a global standardization. So it means that yes, every machine, every object is which has the capability of being a source of information will actually become a source of information because of this decrease in prices of the devices. And obviously it's going to bring more changes than what we have already seen through 3G and 4G.
Do you believe consumers will pay a premium price for 5G when there aren't any obvious benefits yet apart from downloading videos faster? Is there a killer application that could encourage demand for take-up of the service?
Well, I think that's a very good question, is how much more is the consumer ready to pay to get these benefits? So I think it's a question mark, but obviously we'll see a lot additional advantages when you connect to 5G compared with 4G, and certainly this will mean that people will be ready to pay for more. Of course, at the beginning, it's only a small proportion of people, but as costs go down, we'll see probably a gradual take-up through the population worldwide.
The AT&T, the U.S. company has successfully set up a kind of a 5G network in Taco, Texas, Kalamazoo in Michigan, and Bend, Indiana. Is also providing 5G at an Intel office in Austin. So how are these field trials being viewed by users of the service? Can you give any examples of changes to the way people are working?
Well, I think you should ask AT&T on that, but I think I would like to highlight that there are many operators throughout the world who are trying this right now. Precisely, I believe, to assess the question you just raised is how is the user reacting and benefiting from this technological progress.
Now, ultra-fast 5G certainly beckons, but the debate appears to be centered on whether 5G will deliver on all the promises most excited proponents have made, especially considering the heavy investment and research and development needed. Do you believe all the hype surrounding 5G? Do you believe in all the hype surrounding 5G? You don't think there is a possibility of over-promising and under-delivering?
Well, clearly there is a lot of expectation, but at the same time there is, as you mentioned, a lot of investment to be made to enable 5G to reach out to the worldwide population. So I think with time we'll see that 5G I think will take several years before being fully deployed. And I would say to reach the level where we are for 4G, it will probably take another 10 years and a lot of investment. So I think we'll see with time how successful this becomes. But I think given the advantages with time, the cost will go down, and I think the transition will happen.
Well, a couple of questions on Chinese companies. The company ZTE has said it is working on commercializing a range of 5G products by the end of this year. And Huawei also presented in Barcelona what it claims to be the world's first commercial chipset that meets the standards of 5G networks. How important is it commercially to be first in developing these technologies?
Well, obviously, for manufacturers, it's very important to show that you are ready for the next generation. It shows both your technological ability and your reactivity to the market demand. On the side of the operators, operators have also already invested very much in 4G networks. With essentially LTE and LTE advanced technologies. So you can see that operators are following the manufacturers on that, but maybe they will take more time. But obviously for the manufacturers it's essential to be in the race.
The Chinese company Huawei began its research and development on 5G in 2009 and now has some 30 pre-commercial trials across Asia, Europe and Americas. How do you explain China's rapid development in this industry? Is it down to government backing or to the scale and vibrant energy of the Chinese economy, or the efficiency of the execution of Chinese enterprises, or something else? Well,
I think you have several elements. Of course, the First one is the size of the Chinese market, the size also of the Chinese enterprises, the support of the government in planning and organizing the developments, but also the size of the Chinese mobile operators. So all this creates an ecosystem which is very much favorable for the development of telecommunication technologies, and in particular for mobile.
One question about the kind of concerns some governments have shown towards Chinese-led technological development. A U.S. congressman is reported, and he is serving on the influential House Intelligence Committee, he is reported to have warned that if the Australian government allows Chinese company to help build 5G wireless networks in Australia, the partnership of security between Australia and the U.S. could be damaged. There are also European countries who are also using Chinese technology extensively. Does it cause problems for countries, for the U.S., for instance, with its allies vis-à-vis security?
Well, this obviously security is an important element as we trust communication technologies more and more. Security is going to become more and more important, and we can see that every day. So yes, it's an important issue, and certainly every government has its own way of seeing this problem.
Now let's talk a little bit about the upcoming World Cup in Russia. Now the 2018 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by 11 Russian cities between June 14th and July 15th, has given fresh impetus to 5G development in that country. Russian telecommunication operators said they will test 5G connections during the upcoming soccer event. What kind of things can we expect to see then?
Well, I believe that it would look very much like what we have seen in the Winter Olympic Games in Korea, with higher quality, higher interaction for those who benefit from the 5G technology. So I think it's part of the overall picture that is being developed on 5G, is that big events like World Cup Soccer or Olympic Games are an opportunity for a country and for the operators and the industry in the country to demonstrate its ability to manage these new technologies, and therefore from there to reach out beyond its own borders.
In your daily work and in the international cooperation efforts to roll out international standards on 5G, how is the kind of international cooperation and coordination going on between different countries?
Well, this is done in the umbrella of the ITU. And the ITU has the privilege of gathering all the governments and regulators in the world, 193 countries, but also all the private sectors, the mobile operators, the manufacturers. And this is what permits, at the end of this process, where consensus is the rule, it's what permits to have a global agreement that what we call 5G is actually specified in the same way in every country and by every manufacturer and every operator. This is what enables you to travel with your smartphone from one country to another and still being able to enjoy the benefits of communication, but also to have the benefits of the economies of scale. At this point, in the ITU process for developing the standard, we are very advanced according to schedule, in that about 1 year ago we have agreed on what is 5G in terms of overall requirements, in speed, in latency, in capacity, but also now we have developed and adopted a procedure to test the proposals that we have received since for specifying in very much detail what 5G will be doing. And we are in the process now of receiving the proposal. This goes until July. And then until next year, we'll be evaluating this proposal through a number of independent evaluation groups, one in China in particular. Mm-hmm. So we are very much on track in response to this target of developing standards for 2020.
In the end, just explain a little bit what is the decision-making process. So you need to find consensus. This is not going to be decided by a vote where a minority rule, or this has to be something that everybody agrees on.
Yes, it's exactly that. Everybody agrees. And this is the power of the ITU, is to bring this type of agreement between so many actors. At the end of the day, what this achieves is something that can be called 5G, and which is the same everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Do you foresee...
Today,
yes.
What you have before this process is finalized, many people will say, I am doing 5G. This is actually what you said. In this country, they are providing 5G service, or they are developing 5G service. What the ITU process brings is actually the fact of the assurance that 5G is going to be the same everywhere, and therefore when you travel with your phone, you will be able to connect everywhere.
Yeah.
And benefit from economies of scale.
Right. From now to the rollout of the international standards, do you foresee any obstacle, any major challenge?
Well, there are many channels. One of them is which spectrum is going to be used for 5G. When you hear about field trials or early development, this is based on the assumption that certain frequency bands will be decided, certain part of the spectrum will be decided, but this still has to be done, and that will be done in the ITU World Radio Communication Conference in November next year, in 2019. So there are challenges in that the various frequency bands, or the various parts of the spectrum which are being evaluated for being identified for 5G, what we call IMT in the ITU. All these bands are also used by other services than mobile, by Earth exploration satellites, by many satellites, many services, and this means that before taking the decision to allocate the band and designate that for 5G, we need to be sure that there will be no disruption in the investment already made in communication network in this part of the spectrum. So this is the main challenge I see, but I think we have we are making good progress, and I believe that we'll be able to achieve that at the World Radio Conference next year.
Finally, is it too early to start talking about a 6G technology?
Well, it's probably too early, yes. But I guess in 5 years we'll see what needs to be improved, or what can be improved in 5G, given the progress in technologies and the expectations from the users, and we'll see from there.
Thank you
Technology never stops improving.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Francois Renzi, Director of the Radio Communication Bureau of the International Telecommunication Union, joining us from Geneva, Switzerland. And that is it for this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook or Twitter using the handle The Point with Alex. Download the application called CGTN to watch the show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.